to this edition of The Fourth Gear, sponsored by Classic Auto Insurance. And today we're going to talk about something every car collector needs in the hobby, getting started, and it's called financing your car. And I'm here with the king of collector car financing, John Meldon, who is the president, owner, and 100% stockholder for JJ BEST Bank. John, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Jeff. We've known each other for almost 25 years, which has been a long time in our world, maybe even a little longer. And I've been in the banking business for a long time, Jeff. I've been in the banking business, the investment banking part of the business, the mortgage banking part of the business, the depository part of the business, as well as financing antique and classic cars through the bank. And we've been doing this for a long time. I've been in the banking business for almost 40 years, so I'm not a young guy anymore, Jeff, but we are who we are. And I don't think I'm exactly the king of the automobile financing business, but we've had a very good run over the last 30 years, Jeff.
It's, you have built an awesome brand. And gosh, like you said, I've known you for over 25 years. But if you go out in the hobby and you ask most people, if you were looking for finance, where would you go? I bet you 9 times out of 10, JJ Best is the answer we would get.
Well, we've spent a lot of time making sure we have a good reputation. We've done a lot of shows. We're a very honorable and good company, and we lend to people with super prime credit, and people are going to pay us back on time. And quite a bit of our customer base is very high. Our repeat customers, which are very good. We've been doing this for a long time. We not only do automobiles, we do boats and planes as well. So, that's sort of the focus of our customer. Our customer is 45, 50-year-old customer. And these are the toys that he wants. He wants to buy a nice car, a 65 Corvette or a 65 Mustang or a 65 Jaguar. And he wants a good rate. He wants convenient opportunity to be able to borrow money from us. And we make it very convenient for him. We send documents to him online, and he can sign them, notarize, and get them back to us with an e-signature. And then we send the check out to him. It's pretty simple what we do. It's not complicated. I think the market has been very good the last few years. I don't see things changing too much. We're in a fun hobby, and it's a business that people enjoy and people usually pay back on.
The values of cars aren't going down. They are.
No, I don't. I think you're right. You and I have seen several dips, but in general, they're not going down, Jeff.
So how did you get started in the business? What made you wake up one day and say, you know what, I think I'm going to finance collector cars?
Well, that's a little bit of a long story. 40-something years ago, matter of fact, 48 years ago, to maybe put my age in perspective, I started a homemade ice cream store in Martha's Vineyard by the name of Mad Martha's Homemade Ice Cream. And today, 48 years later, my ice cream store is still in business. Multiple United States presidents have gone in to get ice cream there. But I got sort of sick of the business. I went into the investment banking business a few years after I sold Mad Martha's. And eventually was in the mortgage side of the business as well as the investment side of the business. And eventually ended up starting JJ Best as we know it today in 1993. So it was almost 30 years ago we started it. And I saw a niche. There was a gentleman in Ohio that was leasing, had a leasing operation and was doing antique and classic car leasing. He got killed driving his Ferrari. Apparently he was intoxicated and he got killed driving his Ferrari. And I saw an opportunity then, not to just do leasing, but I saw an opportunity to do financing. So I started the company in 93. We had a lot of sort of machinations in the next 2 or 3 years. And eventually we got going the right way. And we've never looked back. We've just continually grown. And we do a lot of auctions every year. We do a lot of financing. We have a small operation in Europe as well. So we're very busy, but the money business is a tricky business. So, but this year we had one of our best years in the last 2 years. Have been very good with COVID. People sat at home and were on computers. And they were buying their antique or classic car or their collectible car, and we were there to help them. So business was good. We expect a little bit of a downturn this year. I expect Feds to raise rates again. A few weeks ago, I was right when I said 75 basis points. I see a rate increase in the next week or so, at least 50 basis points. Inflation numbers are out. They're extremely high. And that is not good for anyone. If we're buying gasoline, plane tickets, everything else, food, especially, even my wife complains about food prices now. So we're in a little different economy now. I expect the antique and classic car business to be pretty good in the future. You and I both appreciate these cars. It's a fun hobby. I don't think the $1 million cars are going to be selling for 500,000 in the next 2 or 3 years. I expect them to be pretty solid over the years. We do loans, Jeff, from $6,000 to $5 million.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a big range. Most of our loans are under 100,000.
And what should somebody know? Somebody's thinking, gosh, I wonder, instead of liquidating my 401k plan, if I had to just call John, go to JJ Best and
That's right.
Finance my next collector car. What should that person know?
Well, a couple of things. Lots of times our customer is married, and he says to his spouse that he's going to borrow some money on their home equity line to buy an automobile. And the spouse will turn to them and say, no, you're not. I don't want to have an automobile on my home equity line. So they call us. And usually that person has a very good credit score, somewhere above 670, 680 in general. Our average score, of course, is a lot higher. And we take an application on the phone. We can approve it pretty much instantaneously on the phone, and send him the documents by email. He signs, he signatures and gets the documents back to us. It's really that simple. It's not that complicated. And that's true with boats and planes as well. A $5 million plane or a $4 million plane is a little bit more complicated as a boat loan is, because lots of times we require a survey or stuff like that. And on the automobile side, we may require an appraisal of the car. If it's a highly unusual one-off car or something like that, we may require an appraisal of that vehicle. It's unlikely. Maybe 3 to 5% of our vehicles may require an appraisal. And
usually the value set, especially if someone's buying a car at auction, the value set the minute the gavel goes down, boom, if that car was $100,000, you know what the value is. He just paid $100,000 for it. Now, do you require X amount of dollars against the loan that you do? Is there a certain
usually we do. Auctions are a little different, Jeff, as you know. Usually we will require at least 10% down. It depends on the state they're in, the sales tax and that type of thing. We lend money in all 48 states. We're licensed with our banking license in 48 states. Plus we have a small operation down in Puerto Rico now as well. The value, well, let's get back to the values for a second. If someone's buying a car for 100,000, we will usually lend $90,000 in that automobile if it's an auction type thing, or even 100% if the person's right. On a person-to-person loan, person's buying a car in California and the person's in New Jersey or vice versa, we will probably require at least 10% down on that purchase. We have an independent inspection agency that goes out and inspects the car to make sure the car exists for fraud reasons as well as other reasons.
The car is the collateral.
The car is the collateral. We're taking a lien on that automobile. They have to have us, JJ Best Bank, listed as lien holder on that car. So we in general lend up to 90% of the value of that car. Sometimes we'll finance the sales tax. Different states, the sales tax is a substantial amount of money. Could be anywhere between 5 and almost 10% in some of these states. So we will sometimes finance the sales tax as well.
Okay. What do you see as some of your biggest challenges? We talked about the economy a little bit, and we've all kind of seen this in the hobby. We've seen the economy go up and down, and our businesses may fluctuate a little bit, but for the most part, we continually trend upwards. What do you see as, for your business, the most challenging?
Well, my biggest challenge from where I sit in the business is the technological challenge. The constant updating of the electronics that are behind the scenes, the automatic approvals or denials, automatic denials, the whole safety factor. All the different states are requiring so many different technological safety guides that we have to abide by. It's very complicated, our whole business behind the scenes. Every day, hundreds of people are trying to break into our internet system daily. Hundreds. okay, if not thousands daily. So all our safeguards and our firewalls and all that are very complicated. And I spend a lot of time on compliance and technological issues of which I'm not an expert. And so I'm dependent on other people that we hire to be the experts in this world. And it's complicated for me. So, but that's the biggest challenge that I see in the world ahead, is the technological issues that we are constantly dealing with on the back end. Front end simple, it's the back end that's complicated.
So you are the bank. I mean, you don't sell this off to a third or fourth party.
Well, we sometimes bundle it up. Sometimes we bundle it up, and we may, like, you know, on the mortgage side, we used to sell to Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and that type of thing. On the car side, sometimes a large automobile lender will buy loans from us. It's a mixed bag of what we do in that. So, but we offer very low rates in long terms, and so sometimes we bundle it, sometimes we hold it. We hold a lot of stuff now.
Okay. How do you see yourself in the hobby? What is your target client? Where do you go to find that individual that wants to finance his?
Well, that's a great question. A high percentage of our customers are repeat customers. So that means to me that we're doing something correctly. If a high percentage of, we're everywhere. We're in most of the automobile publications. We're in those. We are very, very active on the internet in a variety of different sites, as well as search engine optimization. And nothing works 100%. We do mailings, we do shows. Nothing works 100%, Jeff. Everything works a little bit. We have a tremendous dealer base. We get a lot of applications from dealers. But as you and I have seen over the last 25, 30 years, a lot of the dealers have come and gone. Some of the big ones are still in business, and we do a lot of business with them. But everything works a little bit. There's no magic wand that I say we're going to do all the business with these people. We're going to spend all our marketing and advertising dollars with this. It's not like that. Everything works a little bit.
It's kind of the holistic approach.
Yes.
For us in the insurance business, with Classic Auto, it's a holistic approach of you have to be everywhere. You have to do a little bit of everything in order to really build your brand. And you're no different.
Of course.
And put yourself in as many parts of the hobby as you can. How do you decide what the budget is for something like that?
That's a great question. And I'm always talking to my marketing and advertising department about how we cut this or cut that, or how we go up in this and go down in that. Again, that's something that is in constant flux all the time. It depends on some of its seasonality, some of it's different television shows. We do advertise on television. I wish I had a simple answer to that, but in a certain television season, we may up the budget. In the summertime, we may go down the budget because there's more people that aren't watching television in the middle of July and August, and where they may be watching television in December, January, February, especially here where we are in the Northeast.
You got the logistics thing as we do to deal with. We've had a motor home. You've had a motor home.
Yep.
We have a display, whether it be a tent or an indoor display. You have so many different displays, if you will, depending on where you're going. And
that's right.
It's crazy today. If you're going outside, it's nice to have a motor home and you put out the awning.
I agree.
Sprinkle a little bit. Everybody's underneath your awning. You got plenty of people to talk to.
And our new RV has two awnings, one on both sides, which I thought was pretty good. So we're just wrapping today. I think it's today or tomorrow. We're going to finalize the wrap on this. And then it goes down south next week to a show down there. Wow. And then we'll go on from there to Nevada, and then California. Then it heads back to Indiana, I think, on Labor Day weekend or something like that. It's funny. I've been going to Auburn, Indiana for probably 27, 28 years. And I've known a lot of people there, and we've had good business there. And I've seen huge swings in Indiana and Auburn, Indiana in the last 25 years. But the Cruz family, which is running that auction there worldwide, I think is going to do pretty well. And it's an old family name in Indiana. So we'll see what happens.
They will. And, like you, and matter of fact, that's probably where we first met.
It may have been Auburn, Indiana.
Auburn, Indiana. I think
it was. Now you bring that up. I think you're right. I think it was Auburn, Indiana. Who is this magazine guy anyway?
And we were talking about a lot of the things we're still talking about today. How do we continually capture the market? How do we get our youth involved? How do we, how do we continually keep up with the trends? Technology, you had mentioned, for just the banking segment has changed a lot, but
Tremendous.
technology and the way we do business for our websites has changed a lot as well. I mean, I'm sure you, like most, have invested a lot of money in your website to make sure you're capturing everything you can.
It's a very expensive proposition being involved technologically in the internet. It's very expensive. It's costly. It's expensive. There's some pluses to it, but boy, there's a lot of minuses in that world as well. If there's a little bit of an anecdote here of a story, when I was strictly doing the mortgage part of the banking business, more than 25 years ago now, 28 years ago, 1995, Jeff, a guy came to me and he was going to get a second mortgage on his home. And when you're doing mortgages, you always ask him what the money's for. And the guy said, I'm going to write a book on the internet. And this is 1995. And I said, what the hell's the internet? Okay, because who knew? 95, maybe people might have, but I didn't know what the internet was in 95. So I ended up lending him the money, the 25,000. And because of him, we got on the internet. We got on the internet very early in 1995. Most people didn't know what the internet was. And, it's progressed over these years. I always wonder what happened to the guy that I lent 25,000 to, whether he went on and worked for Bill Gates or whatever, I don't know. But that was a long time ago in my world. So
that was, and like you said, actually in 95 is when we built for our publishing company, the first website, and it was challenging. And these guys that would come in and do it, I would think, they weren't, you're today in a shirt and tie all dressed up. I'm a little more casual here in Florida.
That's okay. That's right. You're not in the money world. It's a little different.
These guys walk in and, flip-flops and shorts. I'm thinking, what? And they're geniuses. They're absolutely
and they're making
brilliant.
A fortune. They're making a fortune.
Yeah. Tell me, we talk about memories a little bit and some of the things. I have my favorite memory of an activity that happened with us. You may not even remember it anymore, but we were in Auburn, Indiana. We're at the cruise show then.
Okay.
And we're driving down in my golf cart, and these two golf carts with these, it's warm, it's August, it's hot, these guys with suits on, chase us down and stop us. And we said, what's the problem? What do you need? He goes, we need you to come with us. And I don't know if this is clicking with you yet.
No, not yet. Not yet.
So we turned around. We thought, well, we under arrest.
What they have on for clothing? What they have on?
They had on suits and ties, and they had earpieces.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we go back, and
I starting to remember this a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
And they take us to this bus, and we get up on the bus, and at that time it was Denny Hassard.
That's right.
On the bus. Yeah. And he wanted to talk to us about legislation, rules, and the hobby and how it worked. And he was the speaker at that time. And I'm sitting there. I can't believe he's at a car show to begin with.
Right.
I can't believe we were stopped. I really didn't know what to say. I was way out of my element. But you were just as cool and as calm as can be.
Well, let me tell you the other part of that story. There's the first part of the story. I'm standing near the auction center, and I'm talking to a guy that's a United States congressman from I got a block on his name right now, from New York, and his wife was a commentator, and it's a little bit of a long story. I forget his name right now. And we're talking and watching the cars, and he turns to me. He said, "This is a friend of mine. He's a congressman as well. His name is Dennis Hassard." Okay, this is the year before he becomes a speaker. So I said, "Oh, hi, Dennis. How are you?" So we're talking, and Dennis was really into trucks. So we're talking about some old trucks for a while. So 1 year later, he becomes a speaker in the United States House of Representatives. So he's at the show again the next year. And so I go up to Dennis, and this is the year you were there as well. And he's got 5 Capitol Police around him, because I thought he was protected by Secret Service. He's not. It's Capitol Police who protect him. And we started talking, and I said, "Dennis, we've got to do something about this licensing thing and the titling problem." And he said, "It's funny that you brought that up." He said, "I just bought a pickup truck from Vermont." And he said, "It has no title on it." I said, oh, okay. So I said, that's why I need a national title program. I said, Ford's on board with it. General Motors is on board. Chrysler's on board at the time. I said, we need a national title program, not all these different states. I'm not trying to take any revenue away from states, but people move from California, New Jersey, Florida, or to Maine or whatever. We need a national title law. So Dennis completely agreed with me. He said, because he was, again, in that problem, he couldn't have a title. So he said, get in touch with so-and-so in my office in Washington, and let's start to work on this. A week later, 9/11 happens. Okay. Nothing happened, of course. And so 2 or 3 years, you couldn't really get anything done in Washington. So it sort of died in the process. So fast forward 10, 12 years later, I said, I still have to get this national title thing because it's a big problem in the office here. So I go to a congressman who's a Massachusetts congressman, Capiano was his name, in Cambridge. I go to him and I told him about the story with Dennis. He was a Democrat, and of course, Dennis was a Republican. I tell him, here's the story, here's the problem. Can you help me in some way? He said, yeah, I'd love to be able to help you, and so forth and so on. And it was election year. And he goes, he loses the election.
Oh.
I said, this is never going to happen. And so now we have a different person that's the congressman from that area, and I don't think she knows a Corvette from a kangaroo, so I'm not going to go back to her. So anyway, not to talk politics, but our world is somewhat involved in politics because of interest rates. You know, the Federal Reserve is a political animal, not supposed to be, but is. So we see interest rates rising again in the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
So if somebody finances a car today, call you, say I need $100 grand. Yeah, I'm going to buy $100,000 car. I need 90 grand. What's my interest rate?
Today or tomorrow?
let's go by current.
Let me just say, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, it was probably going to be 499 to 599.
Okay.
Now it's 599 to 699 in that range, and it's probably going to be 699 to 799 going up because we're just a product of what the world is all about. So.
And how long
we watch interest rates very carefully. We watch the markets pretty carefully. We're tuned in a little bit to the euro and to the dollar. The euro, as of today, is almost at a par with the dollar, which is pretty unusual. We've watched that slide from 113 to 108 to almost par today. So, because we have some operations in Europe that we do a little business over there. So, life is changing. The world is changing. We'll see whether the auction companies and all these dealers that were selling these $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 cars are going to do as well in the next year. I don't necessarily see it, but I don't see values dropping very much either, Jeff. I don't see the value of automobiles dropping that much.
And how long a period can someone finance a car? Is it up to them? Say, hey,
we can do 10. We'll do 10 years. I like the 5-year loans we have. We'll do 10 years on both, and maybe even 12, depending on if it's $1 million car, we'll do probably 10 to 12 years.
No. For each car, you don't have a loan that has multiple cars.
We don't have what?
You don't have a loan with multiple cars on it. Each car has its own individual loan.
Yes, in general. We have done some blanket things for larger collectors with a release factor of so much per car. We've done a blanket situation. But in general, every automobile loan has a particular car that we lend on it. To answer the other question, on boats, we'll go up to 25, maybe even 30 years. And on a plane, it's somewhere between 15 and 30 years, depending on.
So you're missing the RV world.
Yeah, we'll do RVs as well. We do a lot of RVs. I'm not an expert on planes. The gentlemen that work for me are, but I'm not an expert on planes. But we know enough to lend on them.
Okay.
Boats. I've been around boats all my life, so I've got a pretty good knowledge of boats.
Okay.
And the boat world is going to change a lot in the next 2 years. Everyone went out and bought a boat, and now they're realizing how much gasoline is. They don't know how to use a boat, so a lot of boats are going to come back on the market soon. Yeah, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. And so let's, as we kind of wrap things up here a little bit, tell me, how do people get in contact with you? How do they reach you? How do they reach your company? What do they need to do?
1-800-USA-1965. Again, it's 1-800-USA-1965. USA 1965 is our direct phone number. We answer the phones. We don't have voicemail on our phones. We always answer the phones. We're open from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. We're open 7 days a week. Okay. A little less hours on Saturday and Sunday, but we are open 7 days a week, and long hours. Those are East Coast hours. The other way to get in touch with us is obviously the web, jjbest.com. That's really the jjbest.com is really the way to get in touch with us. We do answer the phone. A lot of people have a lot of questions, and it's a lot easier from the call in to get everything answered rather than the email back and forth. And we have a lot of people that come to our site, jjbest.com, and they don't finalize the application because they have some questions. We get back to them afterwards, but it's better if they call. They can get all their questions answered. And today's world, no one answers the phone. We do, and that's why we're successful, because we answer the phone. It's that simple. It's not complicated.
And I was just going to say, the relationship you have with your bank is different today. Years ago, back when we were running around in Auburn, I could call my bank and say, hey, I'm going to buy this car, put 20 grand in my bank account and I'll come pay you when I get back in town. And they did it.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen today. Matter of fact, I don't remember the last time I even went into my bank. I have direct deposit. I have mobile deposit. I have no reason to go to the bank. I don't have a relationship.
It's a different world. And the world is very similar in Europe as it is here. I mean, in Ireland and England and a little bit in France, no one goes into a bank anymore. No one goes into a bank. So anyway, I'd love to do some business with the customers, and the people are going to see this interview, which is very kind of you to have us on. If I can answer any other questions, I can be reached at extension 101. It's 1-800-USA-1965. And my office is always open. My door office is always open. I have no problem talking to customers. We have a good staff. If someone wants to know different values of cars, we can give that. We also have an insurance division as well. So we sort of a full round of what we do around here. So.
John, you're the best.
Very good seeing you again, my friend Jeff. Very good. I wish you good health and in these crazy times.
We'll see you soon. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay. Bye.